In the 17th century, at the peak of the Mughal Empire's wealth and power, a single woman did what no other woman had done before. She did not just stand beside the throne, she sat upon it. In an era where royal women were expected to remain invisible behind the silken curtains of the harem, her name was stamped onto gold coins, and her signature validated the laws of the land. She was Nur Jahan, the light of the world, and for 16 years, she was the true sovereign of India.
To understand the magnitude of her power, we have to go back to a dusty caravan trail in 1577. A Persian family was fleeing poverty and persecution in their homeland, heading toward the promised land of India under the great Mughal, Akbar. Along the way, in the harsh terrain of Kandahar, a baby girl was born. Her parents were so destitute they considered abandoning her, but they couldn't do it. They named her Mer-un-Nisa, meaning son among women. It was a prophetic name for a child who would one day outshine every man in the empire.
Her father, Ghiyas Beg, eventually found work in the Mughal court. He was talented, and he rose quickly through the ranks, bringing his family into the inner circle of the elite. This gave young Mer-un-Nisa an education rarely afforded to women. She learned languages, poetry, arts, and even the nuances of statecraft. She grew into a woman of startling beauty and even more startling intelligence.
At the age of 17, she was married to a Persian adventurer named Ali Kuli Istajlu, a man known for his bravery, who was later given the title Sher Afghan, or the Tiger Tosser, after killing a tiger with his bare hands. They were sent away from the capital to the province of Bengal. For years, Mer-un-Nisa lived a relatively quiet life as the wife of a provincial official, far from the center of power, but the winds of change were blowing. In 1605, Emperor Akbar died, and his son Jahangir took the throne. Jahangir was a man of complex nature, a lover of art and nature, but also a man prone to deep bouts of melancholy and a growing addiction to wine and opium. In 1607, Sher Afghan was killed in a skirmish with the emperor's governor in Bengal. Rumors swirled that Jahangir had ordered the hit because he had been infatuated with Mer-un-Nisa since her youth, though many historians believe this was a later romantic invention. Whatever the truth, the widowed Mer-un-Nisa was brought back to the imperial court in Agra to serve as a lady-in-waiting to the Dowager Empress. For 4 years, she lived in the shadows of the palace. Then, in 1611, during the spring festival of Meena Bazaar, Jahangir saw her again. The spark was immediate. Within 2 months, they were married. Jahangir was so captivated by her that he gave her the title Nur Mahal, Light of the Palace, which he soon upgraded to Nur Jahan, Light of the World. Most Mughal queens were content with the luxury of the harem, but Nur Jahan was different. She didn't just want to be the emperor's favorite, she wanted to be his partner. As Jahangir's health began to fail due to his lifestyle, he increasingly relied on his wife's sharp mind. What started as informal advice soon became absolute authority. Nur Jahan broke every rule of the Mughal patriarchy. She appeared on the Jaroka, the imperial balcony, to address the public, a privilege reserved strictly for the emperor. She issued imperial edicts known as farmans, which bore her own royal seal. Most shockingly, the empire's coins, the ultimate symbol of sovereignty, were minted with her name alongside Jahangir's. One coin read, "By order of King Jahangir, gold has 100 splendors added to it by the name of Nur Jahan, the Queen Begum." She was a brilliant administrator. She took charge of the empire's trade, particularly the lucrative silk and spice routes, and grew a massive personal fortune. She used this wealth not just for herself, but to become one of the greatest patrons of architecture in Indian history. It was Nur Jahan who designed the tomb of her father, the Itmad-ud-Dawla in Agra. With its white marble and intricate stone inlays, it served as the stylistic blueprint for what would later become the Taj Mahal. But she wasn't just a builder and a diplomat, she was a warrior. Nur Jahan was a legendary marksman. While most royal women watched hunts from a distance, Nur Jahan sat atop an elephant with a musket. On one famous occasion, she shot 4 tigers with just 6 bullets, a feat that left the bravest generals in awe. Jahangir was so proud that he wrote about her bravery in his personal memoirs, noting that her aim was so steady the elephant didn't even flinch.
The true test of her power came in 1626. A disgruntled general named Mahabat Khan staged a coup and took Emperor Jahangir prisoner while the royal caravan was traveling toward Kabul. The imperial army was in chaos. While the male courtiers panicked, Nur Jahan took charge. She didn't hide, she led.
She mounted a war elephant, armed herself, and led a charge across a dangerous river to rescue her husband. During the battle, her elephant was wounded and she was under heavy fire, but she remained calm, directing her troops in the heat of the conflict. When the initial frontal assault failed, she didn't give up. She used her diplomatic skills to sow seeds of rebellion within Mahabat Khan's own ranks. She eventually outmaneuvered him, secured Jahangir's release, and restored order to the empire. It was an unprecedented display of female leadership in a military context.
However, power this absolute always invites enemies. Her biggest rival was her own stepson, Prince Khurram, the man history would know as Shah Jahan. Nur Jahan knew that if Khurram took the throne, her influence would vanish. She tried to promote the interests of Jahangir's youngest son, Shahryar, who was married to her daughter from her first marriage.
The rivalry turned into a civil war. For years, the empire was fractured by the struggle between the Empress and the prince. But time was not on her side. In 1627, Jahangir died in her arms while traveling back from Kashmir. His death signaled the end of her reign.
In the brutal succession struggle that followed, Shah Jahan emerged victorious. He executed his rivals and placed Nur Jahan under house arrest. But he couldn't bring himself to execute her. Instead, she was given a generous pension and allowed to retire to Lahore.
Nur Jahan spent her final 18 years in quiet exile. She wore simple white clothing, gave up the luxuries of the court, and spent her time supervising the construction of her husband's magnificent tomb and her own modest resting place. She died in 1645, a shadow of the woman who had once commanded an empire of millions.
After her death, history attempted to bury her. Shah Jahan and his successors worked to rewrite the royal chronicles, downplaying her political brilliance and portraying her instead as a manipulative beauty who had led the emperor astray. They wanted the world to believe that the great Mughals were a line of men only.
But you cannot erase a woman whose name was etched in gold. Nur Jahan was a poet, an architect, a diplomat, and a general. She navigated the treacherous waters of the Mughal court with more skill than any man of her time. She remains a testament to what a woman can achieve when she refuses to be confined by the expectations of her era. Subscribe for more.